with us in our studio a very special guest, Dr. Wendy Borlabi. And if you don't know who she is, you have been probably living under the rock. Well, Dr. Wendy is currently working with the Chicago Bulls and is the founder of the Borlabi Consulting, a performance psychology firm. She is an independent consultant with the National Basketball Association and worked for the United States Olympic Committee at their training center in San Diego for 6 years, 2 Winter Olympics and 1 Summer Olympic Games. And she joins us today on the Payal Nanjiani Leadership Podcast to talk about performance and mental health. Well, here we are. Dr. Wendy, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us on this podcast. And we are so honored to have you here with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled. This is such an honor, and I'm excited to be able to, have this conversation with you. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. And I know you have so much of accomplishments, and so much that you have done in the field. But I would just love to know, and our audience would love to know, what got you to be a sports psychologist?
So that's actually one of those kind of funny stories, as they say. Mm-hmm. At the time I graduated undergraduate, and I was in Atlanta, and I had remembered sometime after graduation, I had gone to a sports psychology conference, mm-hmm. and my coworker was going, and it was in New Orleans, and our company was going to pay for us to both attend the conference. And so she asked me if I'd go with her because I was an athlete. And so I said yes.
So you were an athlete. You were an athlete.
I was an athlete.
What were you?
Yes, I was an athlete.
What sport? That's interesting.
I played basketball. Yep, I played basketball.
Okay. Okay, so that's in your blood. It's in your DNA then.
It's there. Yes. And so I went to the conference in New Orleans, and it was a great weekend in New Orleans. I didn't attend a single thing. I didn't go to any conference event. I just had a free trip to New Orleans because my company would pay for it. Mm-hmm. Lots of fun. And then about 3 or 4 years later, when I was living in Atlanta, I started thinking, what's that sports psych thing? What was that about? And so I looked into it and thought, wait, people get paid for this? This is a job. And mm-hmm. the more I looked into it, the more I thought the connection with who I was, being an athlete, loved to watch sports. I love to help people. And so I thought, let me just investigate a little bit more. And so mm-hmm. I did, and went on and found the master's program at Georgia Southern. And so in my second year of my master's program, I thought, this is the job for me. This is the career for me.
Wow.
This is it. Yes. But it was just by chance that someone said, do you want to go to a sports psych conference? And I went, and that's why that's how I knew of it. But I had no knowledge of what sports psychology was prior to.
But I think all great careers just happen by chance. If you just connect the dots of so many of these thought leaders, they've never planned. Just like you said, you were just in the sport and you enjoyed the sport, but you don't actually play it now, I'm assuming.
No, I don't. Well, wow. I'll say I have played a couple times with my son just because, we have to. But other than that, I don't.
But I must ask you this. My younger daughter is extremely fond of basketball. And the only reason she doesn't do it is because she feels she doesn't have the height. Do you feel that's really important in a sport like basketball?
It's funny because I think we think that, but we've seen so many times where people, men and women that have played the sport that are not tall, mm-hmm. but are still really good and have gone really far. So, they say you've got to be, but again, I've seen so many athletes that have gone against that's just been great. And they didn't have the height, but they had other skills and they used that.
So what's sports psychology all about? What do you do in that role?
Yes. So sports psychology is about helping players, specifically players. I mean, because I also work with musicians and athletes and, work with in the corporate world as well. But in my role here, it's working with players and working with coaches. So it's basically, just to sum it up, anything on the court or off the court that's going to affect their performance. So it can be their life, again, the life outside of the court or also outside the field that they have trouble letting go and bringing in and being able to perform for that 45 minutes. So helping them being able to work through those things, because you still have a job to do.
Yeah, so I think it's quite challenging because they are the ones who want to win every game. They are the ones who want to perform the best. So you are actually working with super performers, high performers,
Mhm.
and they already know they are the best, and they just want to be more of what they are. So I think that must be pretty challenging.
Absolutely. Not only do they want to be more, they want to sustain what they're already doing. They don't want,
Very
they want to
right.
keep it at that level. Yes, they want to sustain it. So there isn't
Yeah.
any lulls, even though, you could have the flu, your daughter could be in the hospital, your mom and dad are ailing, all those things are coming up, right? You've got your son just flunked the test. The teacher wants to have a call with you on the road as you're traveling, but they still want to maintain that high level of what they're performing.
So you're currently working with the Chicago Bulls, right? And I'll just tell our listeners that the Chicago Bulls are an American professional basketball based team based in Chicago, and Dr. Wendy is currently working with the Chicago Bulls. So Dr. Wendy, what is it like to be a part of a super organization like this? Like, what's your general day like, and just what would you say about it? Because it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Satisfying. To all of us, it is because you're already there. So we see it like this.
No, I laugh because it is a huge thing, but because I don't think of it as a huge thing, but it's funny because my kids are just now realizing it's a huge thing. So it's just funny to see their reaction to what's happening. But my actually, but my everyday is it's pretty normal. I mean, it's normal in the respect that it's, if you think about a job that I don't necessarily know what's happening until I get to the office. I mean, I have an idea of what, I know the players, I know the coaches, I know what's going on. We won or we lost, or, I know those kind of things, but I don't know what someone's going to ask me to do until I get to the office. And so I usually get here and like right now the team is gone. So when I'm here now, there's a couple of injured athletes, so I'll be working with them. But if the team is here, I'm here I get here and I'm looking to have breakfast with a coach or a player. Conversation happens over food, right? That's an easy way to be able to talk to someone, and they can spill everything they need to talk about and not feel worried or concerned, because it's just easy conversation. So I always try to have a conversation with a player or a coach over breakfast. I go into the training room after that because they're all there getting ready to go for practice. And so again, just having those 5-minute, 3-minute little nuggets conversations in that time as well. And then I watch practice. After practice, then I go back into the dining hall. Again, they're going to be coming in for lunch, another opportunity to have conversation. Sometimes there's something set up that let's talk after practice. And so I know that I'm going to be talking to this player. Rarely do we have conversation in my office. It's usually on the court, again, like maybe in the dining hall, we're walking someplace. But again, sometimes there is those, let's come in my office and let's talk. But it's literally about being around. I remember one of the first classes I took in sports psychology, my professor told us that you've got to get used to just hanging out.
Okay.
You've got to be able to hang out, because if you can't hang out, then they're not, you have to be a part of their world. They need to just know you're there, see you all the time. And so you just got to be there.
And they want to see you where they are, I assume. Like you
exactly want to see.
I'm seeing that you're not in the office, you're at the basketball court, you're in the dining room, like you said. So just wherever they are.
Absolutely. You have to be there. And so you could hang, I mean, like through the course of a day, let's say I'm in the building for, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours. And in the course of the day, I may have, I don't know, 5 to 7 conversations, but all those conversations, there may be one that's about 30 minutes, but probably the majority of them are like 5-10 minutes. Exactly. They're quick, but that's because if I wasn't here, I wouldn't even get that 5 or 10 minutes. And in that 5 or 10 minutes, like I said, I like to be off the cuff, because that's what happens. I have to be ready, because I don't know what they're going to ask me, and I got to be able to give them back something right away, because I only have a window.
So you become a pro in having these quick conversations and just speaking with them. That's an art that you've picked up so well, I guess, now. And especially as you're coaching them, you're speaking with them, and you're taking these nuggets and moving ahead. But you've been working with some of these best players in the sports field. So according to you, Dr. Wendy, what distinguishes the elite from the super elite performers?
That's a really good question. So I think that and my experience, and because besides the Bulls, I mean, I did work for the Olympics. So I've always worked with pretty elite athletes. And so I think that physically they're pretty similar. I mean, obviously there's variations, right?
Mhm.
Height, weight, strength, those kind of things. But I think that physically they're in it's a range. They're pretty similar. I think that the piece that distinguishes those that can, as we talked about, sustain that high level,
Yeah.
and those that can acquire that high level, and those that even recognize that there is a higher level, are the ones that are open to that, the mind and body connection, are the ones that are aware of it. Because I think we talk about it, but I don't think we actually understand how effective it is and how strong.
Tell us a little more about that mind-body connection. That was really resonated with me, and I think it's so imperative for anyone in the corporate world or anywhere.
Sure.
Mind-body connection. Just tell us a little bit more about that. It's very interesting.
Sure, absolutely. So let me give you a really good example to help explain that on a very basic level. So when we talk about routines all the time and how to do routines. We talk about sleep routines, right? There's things that people learn how to do in order to get you to a certain state to be able to perform or to go to sleep, whatever the case may be. The thing about a routine is that it's your mind and your body what's going to happen next, but you're not thinking about it. The thought's gone. So that's when we talk about that flow state, when you're working on automatic pilot and you're able to do really great work. You get off that presentation, you're like, man, I nailed that presentation. And then your coworker goes, what happened? And you're like, I don't know. It was just great. You just know. You don't remember because you were just in that moment. So think about, a routine, a great example of routine would be when you take a shower.
Yeah.
When you take a shower every day, you do the same thing the same way, whether you wash your left arm first or your right arm first, you shampoo your hair first, right? But you don't think about it. As soon as you say shower, your mind says shower. Your body says shower. Correct. Then your body, water on, get the temperature, get the sponge, shampoo your hair. All of that happens. So whether you got 5 minutes to take a shower or 20 minutes to take a shower, you do the same. It's the same. Yeah. That's the mind and body connection. Just because you said shower, your body, your mind and your body have connected and they go, boom, shower, and you get it done. But you're not thinking about it.
So are you saying that we should change that or should we continue that? Is that a good thing or is it not a good thing?
It's a very good thing. Again, when you take a shower, you get it done, right? Whether you got 5 minutes or 20 minutes, right?
Right. Yeah.
No matter how much time
that the connection is good. It's not bad to stay in an autopilot mode in some cases, I'm assuming then.
It is, but it also depends on how you perfect it and how you use it, right? So if it's autopilot, as in that you're disconnecting, obviously that's not a good, because we do that too. We go on the autopilot and we disconnect and we focus on one singular thing and leave everything else out. That's not good. We don't want that kind of autopilot, but we want the autopilot that still is able to handle tasks. And that's what, again, the shower is just a great example, because you're doing so many things, but you're literally not thinking about it. You're not processing. You're not going, this is enough shampoo. This is enough. You're not going, rinse my hair, shave my legs. All that's not happening. You're just the next thing, 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 the next thing. And so you're doing it. And so that's the part about it, is that if you're able to get in a space where you can get things accomplished and not tune out. Because when you tune out, right, you're limiting all the other things that come in a space.
And you also mentioned about sustaining your success and sustaining what you've. A lot of us, even when wherever we are, a lot of us, we know how to get to the success. Many a times we say, oh, this is a practice, this is a routine. We'll do this. We'll work hard. It's persistence. Everything. And when you're there, it is so difficult to sustain it. What makes it difficult to sustain it? And you've seen it all. And what would you suggest to people so that they can sustain that success and not go down the slope again?
Sure. I think the biggest thing that for me, that I see that it's hard to sustain the success is sustain our success. It's the expectation.
Okay.
It's the expectation of that. Right. So because we were able to perform at a 9 one day, we expect to perform at a 9 the next day, and a 9 the next day, and a 9 the next day. but you could be performing at an 8 or a 7, still doing just as great. But because it's not at that high level and you don't feel that same, then you think that you're not performing at that, you're not sustaining it. So it's that expectation, I think, is what hurts us. Okay. Right. So you don't necessarily have to be at the 9. I like to look in the range. If you're working between 7 and 10, that's still in that's a great range.
Okay. So you continue doing that.
Correct. You continue doing that and recognizing when you fall below.
Below the 7, then you fall below that range.
Right. Because think about it when the times when you did a really great presentation, or you got a great job, or got something, then you were like, I performed really well. That was at a high level. Right. And so because you have that memory of that, if you don't perform at that same level with that same feeling, you think that you're against that expectation to be at that same spot. And I'm saying it doesn't need to feel like that. You can still be at the same level. 9 to 7 is pretty darn good. You could still be, or 9 to 10, you can still be at that. So I think it's the expectation of, I think that's what gets us down to sustaining that and recognizing that we're still there. It's just not going to feel or even look the same, but we're still. And if you think about it, I like to think about it also in like different realms. So if you were able to, do the presentation, nailed it, got the job or got the account, and that's a high level, and you're walking out and you're at that 9, and then you leave and you go home and you've got life duties, and you think, I'm not being successful in that because you're not at that 9. However, you picked up the kids, you got them to ballet, you took your son to track, you made dinner, you did the dishes, everybody was fed, you read the books. I mean, all the things happened. Yeah. But because, right, you were still performing at the 9, but because it wasn't that same feeling, you're like, oh gosh, I wasn't able to do it. Do you see how we do that?
Yeah. And then we criticize ourselves, we beat ourselves up. In fact, out of 10 things, out of 10 things, we achieved 8. We just look at those 2 things that we were not able to achieve, and it really pulls us down. And the next day you feel all the more worse.
Yes, absolutely.
So have you seen this type of a thinking, like these world's best athletes that you are dealing with? What's their thinking like in general, which can help everyone?
Yeah. So it's try to take the expectation out. So I work with them and trying to let's take that expectation out. And then I also work in ranges.
I like that. Yeah.
It's the range. I'm not looking for you to, let's say we're looking like at a rower. I'm not looking for you to row, the 2K in 6 minutes and 30 seconds. We're looking at it to be 6 minutes, 30 seconds to 6 minutes and 55 or 30 and 70, or there's a 30 or to a 10 second window there, right? So we're looking to fall in that range. Once you're able to hit that range, the range can narrow. But there's always going to be a range. There's always going to be a range, because just like you said, it's the next day, and then you feel bad because, right? And so it carries over. And so I want you to feel successful in what you're doing. You may hit that 2K in rowing in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. And we'll take that today, because today was a hard day. Tomorrow you'll be able to do it in 6:30. We'll take that. Maybe the next 2 weeks you'll be able to do it in 6:28. That's great as well. So we want to work in that range space, as opposed to making a hard definite. If I don't do this, as you said, I have 10 things. If I don't do all 10, I failed. You have 10. If you do 7 to 10, that's great.
This is such a wonderful piece of advice that you've said. This, putting that range. And it's giving you that window that you don't have to be at all times in number 9 or number 10. You don't have to do it all the time. But the fact that you are within that range should keep you going. It should always help you to better your game. Because like I said, when we don't do it, we feel, because we don't give that range to ourselves, we said, we always have to perform at a number 9. And, I'm never against any motivational gurus, but basically, I always feel, that motivation can only take you this far. So when they keep telling you, bring your A game and just be at number 9, I think we forget that every single day is a new day, and you really cannot be at a number 9, because situations and circumstances are so different every day, But when you give that range, I'll tell you, it's making me feel so good, because I feel, okay, you know what, I'm in the 7 to 10. As long as I'm not going below 7, I can keep going 7, 8, 9, 10. So I think that's wonderful.
Absolutely. And even in that range, even the 7 to 10, there's going to be days that you're going to dip down to 6.
Yeah,
And that's a part of what I say to players, you got to give yourself grace.
Wow. So along with these range and like you said, sustaining your success and lowering those expectations, like you said, what are some of the mental barriers that you have seen in not just the athletes, but just generally in people, because of which they fall short of success? Like, whenever you meet people, what are some of the mental barriers you've observed?
One is going to be confidence. I think that's probably the easiest,
Do they have
confidence.
Lack of confidence?
Yes. And I think the confidence comes in, it comes in, I think it comes in ways. I think we also think that confidence is something that you get confident and then you stay there. And that's not the way confidence works. Confidence is ebbs and flows. We just don't want the deep ones, right? So it's depending on the day, the week, it's ebbs and flows. That's a normal confidence. And so when explaining that to someone, it kind of changes their mindset too, of thinking, oh, I've lost my confidence. You didn't lose it. You didn't lose it. You're just paying attention to the negative at this moment, but the confidence is still there. Wow. But you're listening to the negative, which makes you think that your confidence low. So I think confidence can be a barrier. Excuse me. I also think that the feeling of the failure of success and the failure of or the fear of failure and the fear of success, those two things can also come into play as well, because we get our minds can play those tricks on us, and we get to
very much fear of success plays more sometimes.
Yes, it does
absolutely. Focus on the fear of failure, but you've seen fear of success is also very, very daunting to people.
Absolutely. Fear of success, because it's back to the expectation. It becomes that expectation that you've got to perform at this level. Yes. And so I think that the confidence, the fear of success, and the fear of failure can come into play. I also think the feeling that you're not enough or that you're less than, which is a little bit different than confidence. Because if you're feeling that you're less than, then you don't even try.
Yeah. Absolutely, and we compare ourselves with everyone nowadays with the advent of too much of information out there these days. So all the time you're seeing someone on the net, and you don't even know whether it's the reality of their life or not. So
absolutely. It's so true. So because you think you're not enough, you don't even try. So that becomes we're not even there to get you to even try the next thing and the new thing. I think that can be a hard thing as well. And also think I call it the white noise, which you kind of alluded to before. The much information, it's social media, it's white noise. I call it white noise because white noise is a distraction, right? It's something that distracts noise, so that way someone can have the conversation. Yeah. And that's what social media, it's a distraction. Yeah. It's white noise.
It is.
That's what it's doing. It's literally white noise. It's not accomplishing anything. It gets you focusing on the white noise. And then you go to sleep, or you get stuck in that zone, which is what social media is. You get stuck in that space, and you're flipping through all the likes and all that stuff. It's just it's just a distraction. I think those things can come into play as well.
Those are ones we should all address, and we should look at it. But Dr. Wendy, you also mentioned about how these athletes have routines and everything. So how important is that in anyone's life? I mean, because a lot of people hate discipline, and they hate routine life, and they're like, oh my goodness, it's 9 o'clock and you want me to wake up at this time and sleep at a particular time. How important do you think is this in anyone's life?
I personally think it is very important. The benefits is, I think it's very important. And I tell people all the time, just so you're saying, I mean, when I'm working with somebody, whether it's a player, whether it's an executive, an actor, a musician, it's the routine, and it's the everyday routine, what you can get accomplished. I think the things that I think that we don't think about the benefits of it. And let me give you an example. I'll give a personal example for me, is that, so I have twins. They just turned 10, boy, girl twins. Wow. And so, and I'm a solo parent. So it's just me doing everything. So in order for me to get up, it's literally a routine. When I get up, I know exactly I need to be up for me to work out. Let's just say the days I don't work out, I'm getting up at 6. By 6:30, I need to be dressed, and I need to be making breakfast because I'm getting them up.
Cool,
I get one. I know who I get up first. I know who I get up second. I go back. I mean, it's routine. I go back to this person. I go back to this person. The food is down at 6:40. I mean, it's. I know that this. If Absolutely. I do all of these things, 6:40, they need to be sitting down by 6:55, eating their breakfast. We need to be. I have an alarm on my phone that goes off at 7:20. That means that we need to go. 7:20. They need to brush their teeth. We do that every day. But if we don't do that, my mornings are not chaos. They are not chaos.
I agree.
It's not.
Do the boys like it? Do the boys appreciate it?
Well, so it's a boy and a girl. So my daughter, my daughter is she doesn't like to wake up. So she's a little bit harder, but they like it because it's not chaos.
I agree.
It's a relaxed morning. There isn't any, oh, where's this? Where's that?
No.
It's done.
And, I so closely resonate to you, Dr. Wendy. I'm always coaching these executives day in and day out. And one thing I swear by is the routine, not only in their life, but in my own life. Like I have 2 children. And for me, routine means everything, just everything, If I don't have the routine, I would be totally lost. Totally, like you said, it's going to be a chaos in your life every day, after that. So I want to make sure there's a routine, and I'm so glad you emphasized this point because I know millions of people out there who want to grow, who want to become something, but they do not want to stick to a routine. They don't want a disciplined life. And I think you have really nailed that so well. You're not just the athletes, but even in your own personal life, you have seen the benefits. I have seen the benefits. So this is wonderful. And I'll be honest, Dr. Wendy, talking with you, I'm not even realizing where the time is just flying by. And I know what your schedule would be when you're with the Chicago Bulls. But you said it's snowing back here there today in Chicago. So I'm not sure if you're going to go to work or you're going to be at home.
No, we have time to have more conversation. I'm enjoying this. So we're good. We're good on time. We're good on time. I do want to add one little piece about the routines that you said that I want to make sure that the listeners understand is that in order to be successful, there has to be a modicum, if you want to say a modicum, moderate, some kind of discipline. There has to be a discipline in you in order to be successful. Yeah. So if you fight the routine, you can fight the routine, but you're going to have to be disciplined on something in order to be successful, period.
Absolutely. Even if you see, like I said, motivation can only take you this far. Yes. But, with discipline, you can get a long way in your life. And like I said, my kids would always ask me, why do we have to have food at 6:30 in the evening? We can have it at 7 at times. And I'm like, no, 6:30, because my body has got used to it. And my body has got discipline to it. And my husband hates the discipline and the routine, but because because of my work, he has to follow through those things. But every time I'm traveling and I'm out of the house, he would be like, okay, now there's no discipline and routine. So I know, in our lives it is important, but a lot of times when I'm like, okay, fine, these are your cheat days, just take it out. So that is so wonderful. Let me ask you something. One more last question that comes to my mind. What would be your one big advice to our listeners who want to be super successful in their life?
My goodness.
You have many. I know you have many.
I do, but you know what? I'm going to talk about one that is actually how you and I found each other. Through the book that I'm writing and almost done with it, is that the thing I'm going to say is to challenge yourself. I never thought that I would write. I never thought I was a writer. And that was a challenge to me. I thought even if I don't sell the book, I'm going to write the book.
Wow.
Because there's so much that can happen. I'm going to learn about myself. So if you challenge yourself, that's the advice I'm going to give you, is that always challenge yourself, because you're going to learn something in the process. You may not win the award or get the job, but what you get in that middle, man, it's going to take you far. What I've learned about myself in writing this book has just been amazing. And so that's what I would say. You want to be successful, is that you're going to have to challenge yourself.
What's the title of your book, if it can be disclosed?
Well, we're working on the exact title, but because it's just been changing, but it's actually, as you talk, it's actually about what we're talking about similar. It's about the fact, and it's more towards,
Okay.
it's about women, but it's about how we can do more and how we can be more
Wow.
and want what we want and not settle for the, we don't want to just be at the table. We don't want to
And
get to the table.
when does it release?
So hopefully this year. So it's done. I'm starting to, as they say, shop it out. So the proposal's written. So now I'm trying to get it out there and trying to people to like it. But it's been a great experience. I had well, again, how we found each other. My book coach, Kim O'Hare. That was a great experience. Again, she challenged and she pushed me, and so I've learned so much about myself and what I want to do more. If you can believe that, there's more that I can do.
Wow.
I'm
sure. And to be honest, Dr. Wendy, that opens up completely another topic for me to have you back, because when you say do more, so when your book is released, it would be such an honor to have you back again and talk so much about, like you said, it's a lot to do with women.
Yes.
I would love for them to hear something very specific to them. So it would be wonderful to get another conversation with you.
Yes, I would love that. And I think that just a little teaser, the thing about the book that I think is different than others is that I'm not telling you what to do to be better. What I'm telling you, what I'm talking about is what we already know as women, but now we're just talking about it, how we can use that to our advantage. So it's not about do this, do that, do that. It's, we already know that we're behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in the United States. So this is what we need. This is it. Now let's move forward. Yes.
Right. I think that will be an incredible conversation. And, this conversation itself has been so awesome. I've learned so much from you. And, I didn't even realize where the time has gone, but thank you so much for being here on this podcast.
Thank you. This has been I love great conversation. And that's what this was. This was great conversation. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And this one's for our listeners. This is Dr. Wendy and Payal Nanjiani wishing you loads of success in your career life. God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.